Today we are going to do the Form 1 major scale in fourths. And in keeping with what I've told you about whatever accident of music culture it is that we always tend to practice from the bottom going to the top, we're going to force ourselves to break out of that tendency by starting on the top and going to the bottom. Alright, let's see if we can get... let's say the goal will be 10 repetitions of this without messing up. Let's see if I can do it. I'll do it at this tempo first, and then I'm probably going to have to slow it down to do solfege with it. So here we go. Oh, well, first I should show you the exercise, shouldn't we? So it's going to be like this. Here, I'll turn the metronome off for a moment. So there's a couple different ways you can do this, especially on the top end of the scale. Here's the first one we're going to do. I might do a couple more with you too. There's different ways to finger this, but here's the one we're going to do because it sort of practices those shifts I talked about. We're going to start with the pinky on the C up here. And the reason we're going to start on the C is because it's a fourth away from the G, this G. So we're going to pretend like we're starting on this G. So we're going to do descending fourths. So we're going to go pinky on the first string, to third fret on the first string, to B, to F sharp, to A, to E, from G to D, and you're going to bar both of those. Pinky bar from A to E, second finger bar from G to D. Now, F sharp to C, that's that sort of hard shape we talked about before. That's the weirdest one in the whole scale when you do fourths. And then E to B, pinky to third finger, D to A, then C to G. I'd probably do this with a bar still. Anything I can bar, I do. Then you bar the B to the F sharp with the third, bar the A to the E with the first, bar the G to the D with the pinky, third finger on F sharp, second finger on C for that one, bar from E to B, then D to A, also a bar, C to G, also a bar, B to F sharp, also a bar, A to E, also a bar. Fourths are fun because you get to bar a lot. Now, you'll probably ask, can't I just bar up top too? Etc. Yeah, I could, and that might be the other way we do it in a little bit, but for right now I want to do these bigger shifts. Okay, there was one thing I was going to say about it. Let me think here. Oh, here's part of the point. You'll find, again, for some reason, this. I bet you'll find that a lot easier to execute than you will this. Whoops. Case in point. This requires more thinking. Why? It's because you're practicing it in fourths. I think it's probably because you're practicing it in fourths, and yet when you descend, it's like, if you're thinking in fourths, you're thinking, this is C, this is G. So it's like, to think of it as a fourth, you've got to think of the second note you play first. That's the challenge. So to know in the mind that this is a fourth, you've got to have the G in the mind before you're playing the C. And that goes for every single one. To know this is a fourth, you've already got to know you're going to F sharp. Now, wouldn't it be more efficient, you might ask, to just think of it as a fifth but below, like the fifth below? Yeah, it might. If you're thinking in terms of like a major scale, here's part of the problem is it's not always going to be a perfect fourth. So that's one issue. So that's part of the issue there, but for me, it's a concentration thing in terms of knowing what the roots are. And even though we're not doing arpeggios here, and still thinking of it in terms of, okay, the descending, what I'm tracking is the bottom note. I'm tracking for these first two, C to G and B to F sharp. I'm tracking the G to F sharp in the mind. The fourth should be like an automatic, instinctual thing. Where's the fourth above it? It's just there. But in terms of what the mind is tracking, you're tracking the descent down here at the very beginning. So that's part of why those descents are challenging, is because you've got to, it's almost like your mind has got to do an extra step to know what's going on. Whereas here, extra step is gone, so I can do it a lot easier. Instead of recalculating, okay, what's the bottom note, and I got to know what that is, what target it is before I do it. It's just, I start on the bottom note here. I don't know if that makes sense. It's probably irrational to think that way. Someone's probably got a good explanation of why it should be wrong, that that's harder or whatever. It's so weird. It's in music, there's this funny tendency sometimes to be like, oh, well, your flat scales shouldn't be any harder than your sharp scales, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, sorry, but those are realities. And for most people, they don't have good enough, strict enough instruction at the beginning of when they started playing an instrument to get rid of all those little idiosyncrasies and problems, like always practicing scales ascending. If you start when you're young, you're going to do that just because you don't know enough, or you don't know better, or it's just hard enough to even get the scale, so you pick one way to do it and you just go with it. And now you've got a training artifact. You know, you could make an argument that it is just a training artifact, that, for example, this is harder than the ascending fourths, and that might be true. But the point is, it's there, and we've got to deal with it. And I think most people do have a lot of these training artifacts, especially with the ascending versus descending thing. So you have to work extra hard as an intermediate to advanced player to counteract that. It's about counteracting your training scars, so to speak. And some of them you just got to live with. You have to accept the fact that you have them. You don't try to cop out into some sort of like, oh, well, it shouldn't be any harder or easier to do this. Well, what does that get you? What does that get you by saying that to yourself? I think it's deep down probably just an avoidance of admitting to yourself that you've got a training scar and you need to address it. Okay, here we go. I've been talking too much in videos recently. I'm going to try to play more in the ones coming up. But here we're going to do the exercise. We're going to do it 10 times. 10 times, all from descending to the bottom, and then restart, descending to the bottom, descending to the bottom, descending to the bottom. 10 times of that. And then we'll probably slow it down and do solfege. But let's see how fast we can start out. I think I can probably do that. So we're at 72 beats per minute. Eighth note's at 72. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Restart, here we go. Second time, here, third time. Ready, go. Oh, wow, what happened? Here we go. Restart, here we go. That was the fourth time. Here we go for the fifth time. Go. Sixth time, go. Couple flubs on that one. Let's see if we can get it better on the seventh time. 1, 2, ready, go. Top of the scale is still hard. Here we go, ready, and... Good. Ninth time, here we go. Tenth time, here we go. Alright, so I flubbed a couple times there. Let's do 10 times ascending now. 1, 2. I'm not going to start on this. I like to always start on roots. But if you can, obviously, on the other end of it, shoot past it. Here we go. Concentration was not even there. Let's try that again. 1, 2, ready, go. Good. Here I did use the bar here on top. Here we go again, and good. Here you go again, and fourth time, go. Fifth time, go. Good, here you go. Sorry. Sixth time, here we go. Seventh time, here you go. Eighth time, go. Whoops, not thirds. Eighth time, go. Ninth time, go. Tenth time, go. Okay, now solfege. Let's see if we can do it. Let's see if I can make an attempt at... Man, I could probably do it this tempo ascending, but I'm probably gonna have to slow it down for descending. Let's see if... Let's just warm up. I'll do the ascending one first. Here I go. Ready, go. Sol, do, la, re, ti. No. Sol, do, la, re, ti, mi, do, fi, sol, re, mi, la, ti, do, nope, still way too fast. Okay, we're gonna slow it way down. 60 beats per minute, maybe? Let's see if we can do that. Bon, dum, sol, do, la, re, ti, do. Sol, do, la, re, ti. Yeah, it's... You can see, obviously, the tendency in solfege. The goal is to... I'll just do a separate video for it. This is getting too long anyways. The goal, obviously, for solfege is just to have it be one system so that your voice isn't reacting to the guitar isn't reacting to the voice. It's just the same thing, instantaneously. I'm still in the stage where I react to the guitar for my solfege. It's extremely small, the timing of it. But my voice awareness is always slightly lagging behind the hand awareness. So that's why you hear me messing up and sometimes going T, do. I got the pitch. I know what the pitches are. T, do. But T, do is not that. It's T, mi. So you, obviously, why do I do that? Well, because T, do is so common when you do regular scales. Another training scar. So that thing will come up. Training scars are unavoidable. You have to realize that. They're unavoidable. You cannot escape them. They're going to happen because by getting better at one thing means you have to necessarily get worse at another thing. That's the point. Because getting better means massively increasing concentration on one specific thing. And that means other things will suffer. Period. For example, with solfege, like I said, when I was an undergraduate and trying to get good at my solfege and I had to do all these solfege exercises, I guarantee I probably did T, do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. And that was good. That was a good thing that I did that. Because it trained the fact that now T, do, so automatic. But that means that training that automatically will now make other types of patterns harder. And that is unavoidable. It's unavoidable. You gotta pick... Look, the reason why that's unavoidable is because, what, are you just never going to get good at any of them? You have to start with one of them. You have to start with some pattern, and that pattern is going to sort of have a dominion over you after the fact. It's the same way, actually, I've often thought about how my interpretations in classical music, when I played more classical music, they were always very influenced by the first person I heard play the piece. And at a certain point when I was starting to learn new pieces, I would purposely pick things I hadn't heard before and then not listen to anybody else play it before I learned it. Because I wanted the interpretation to come from me and not from just the very, the very sort of impressionable state that you're in when you first listen to a piece of music, and that you get into your mind like, oh, that's the way it's got to go. And it's the similar thing with, training scars here. Unavoidable. And you should train past them.